Do you ever wonder, am I fueling myself properly for these workouts? Or do you just feel like shit and you're eating in a really low deficit and you're doing all the workouts, but you're not seeing results? It's probably because you're not eating enough. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to discuss, are you fueling yourself for the workouts and the energy that you are burning? This is super important, and a lot of women get into trouble here, and then they get really frustrated because, again, they don't see the results and the fruits of their labor. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is so common where women will eat like a salad here, a salad there, and have like an iced coffee for breakfast. And then they'll go to these like crazy workouts and do all the shit. And then they're like, I don't understand like why I'm so shapeless, or I don't lose weight, or I'm gaining weight and I'm eating this way.
I know. And their salads are like that, like iceberg lettuce with the tomato and carrots with whatever dressing and like the littlest amount of protein I've ever seen in my life.
Yes. And so we're going to talk about this. Check the show notes below to move past our banter and bullshit. You will find that in the timestamps in the notes. Please also, if you're not already, give us a subscribe, a follow, all of the things. We love 5-star ratings and reviews. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're doing a contest in the month of November for 3 winners who will get a year's pass to our Mindset Method app. A year subscription. Mm-hmm. And so we need at least 10 reviews for this contest to happen. So
ding, ding, ding.
Do it to it. 5 stars, please. And thank you. Let's talk about Nobody Wants This.
Yeah, I was going to say, you wanted to talk about that show.
Dude.
So cute.
So I went to lunch with my friend Serena on Friday. I went to graduate school with her. And she told me how cute it was. And then I think you told me and other people. So I'm like, okay. So we threw it on Friday night. We had been at the hospital, got my dad home, went and got something to eat and whatever. We had Chick-fil-A. It was delicious. Anyway, and we got in bed and I started watching it. I stayed up till 1 a.m. I finished the whole thing.
Yeah. It's like definitely one of those where you just keep going.
Oh, so cute. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love everything about it. Kristen Bell's really tiny.
She's very tiny.
But Adam Brody gave me all the vibes. And yeah, what was your favorite? Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched it probably a couple weeks ago.
Wait, did we talk about the Love is Blind finale?
No, we have not talked about the Love is Blind finale, and it's on my notes to banter about.
Okay, but yes.
But yeah, I would highly recommend Nobody Wants This. Very cute. Not a very I would say like you don't have to be very invested and involved, you know, like it's just a nice little killer of time.
It's a great scripted series. Yes. I don't do scripted. I do reality TV and murder. So I
do scripted.
And then I like it. I have to tell everyone I gave the recommendation to watch Nurse Ratched, and I didn't realize that show doesn't have a second season and ends on a cliffhanger.
And they're not making a second season, actually, because I looked it up. I started watching it, but then I don't know. I just like couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it's a little vulgar.
Yeah, and it's like she's just so odd. Like, especially in the sex scenes, I'm just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, the sex scenes were weird.
Yeah. And then like the guy in the sex scenes, he's from a House of Cards. So like I still have that portrayal of him. So
yeah, what they do to him is ratchet.
Oh, really? See, I didn't make it that far.
Oh yeah, it's bad. But anyway,
okay. So Love is Blind season finale. Let's go.
All right.
So we're a little behind on this, but it's because we had life events. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Top 3 takeaways. What are yours?
Hannah is still fucked up.
She's a bitch.
And to be like, I'm sorry, that's just my personality. I was like, okay, no, you're just a bitch. Like, that's not like, you can't be like, I'm sorry that I'm a bit, like, work on it.
And just direct.
Yeah.
And just direct.
A CUNT a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, that's a fixed mindset, babe.
Mm-hmm. But she did certainly have a glow up. Then
I got
Marissa.
told I had a glow up this weekend, and I didn't know how to take that. I was like,
From
thanks.
when?
So a really good friend, Cynthia, who I went to high school
Uh-huh.
with, it was her 40th. So she had a big party. And back in the day before I was with Mark, and even like when we were dating, she lived here and she did all these events. We did a lot of events for her company, Fabulous Arizona. Now she owns Fabulous California, Wisconsin, a bunch of different
Oh, this
states.
is fabulous.
And so a lot of the gals that we used to hang out with back in the day all came to this party. And one was like, "You've had a glow up. Your hair, you're this." I was like, "Thank you."
Shit.
It's fine. No, she meant it nicely. But yeah, I was like, was I fucking ratchet?
I know.
Was I Nurse Ratchet? Actually,
So
she dresses very well in that show.
what is this fabulous air? Is it just like things that are happening in Arizona that are fabulous or like in Wisconsin that are fabulous?
Yep. So
Oh.
she basically is an online magazine for different
Oh,
events, restaurants, bars. Yeah, events.
hmm,
So she'll
cool.
do things like what's the fashion for the Phoenix Open or
Oh.
stuff like that. But then she
Uh-huh.
also owns a media company. So she was an influencer before influencers were a thing.
Oh,
Yeah, she struck while the iron was not hot, but then it got hot.
good for her.
So yeah,
Homes.
she's
Yeah,
doing
they've
great.
got everything. See and do, food and drink, homes for sale,
Mhm.
philanthropy, people.
People, I'm on there.
Are you?
Yep, I'm a person.
Cool.
Anyway, Love is
Okay.
Blind.
Love is
Hannah
blind.
sucks.
Yeah,
Glow
Hannah
up.
sucks. I found I'm trying to think of like the couple layout. The what's his name? Mr. Like you used my name out of context.
Oh,
Like Mr. Self-Righteous number 2, because there's Self-Righteous number 1, Ramesses or whatever, and
Ramses.
Self-Righteous number 2 is
There's something in my
the
eyeball.
dog barker, which was so annoying.
Yeah, what was his name?
Tyler?
We're really no. Tyler's the guy with the
Tyler's
kids.
the guy with the kids.
Him.
Tim, okay, he was very strange to me where I was like, okay, like this is you are just an odd duck.
Yeah.
Where like almost like he was so affective, like meaning like shut down emotionally
Hmm.
and just was like on his platform. I was like, this is odd. And then what was the other one? Steven, like they didn't really get into the nitty-gritty about like, and then the Nikki D thing of like, I want to be famous on Love is Blind. Like, are we really shocked? And then
Hmm.
Marissa and Ramesses, like to me, I would like when she was like, "You broke my heart," blah, blah. I was like, but at least he like didn't go through with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
That's what
at
her
least
mom said.
yeah, like at least like he was like, wait, this is but the whole like where he's like your person because it's her personality is too much or something. Like I don't
Her
understand
energy.
her energy was too much. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It seemed like the only people that made it out like alive are the Garrett and what's her
Taylor.
name? Taylor people.
Yeah.
Because even
Well,
I'll be curious to see what happens with Ashley and Tyler.
I heard she was on Vile Files, and
Oh.
they had a whole conversation about this that wasn't filmed. Like she knew everything before she walked down that aisle,
Oh.
and she gave more tea around like the baby's mama, the
Oh,
baby's
please elaborate.
the grandmother of those children.
Okay.
Her daughter's a lesbian, so apparently she does not like that. So she'd buy Tyler shirts like best dad. Oh, and then post like, look at the kid's dad when they're not, that's not his dad, like their dad, because she's never posted about the girl's wife or anything like that. So that's what Ashley said on the, you got to listen to the Vile Files one. She's like, I knew everything. This man has done this to help this family, and they came out and like literally spread lies, and now everything that they've said is taken down. Yeah. So
Oh, plot
he was,
twist.
yeah, he was trying to not have this come up, and that's why he didn't talk about it on camera. But then they were like, well, we need to talk about this on camera.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm getting on Reddit right now.
Do it. Reddit.
So
Um,
it was
I
like,
hated Marissa and Hannah because they're like, we're best friends. We're best friends.
oh, I
This is
know.
my
That's I'm
best
like, how are
friend.
y'all like that's so college of y'all. Like,
Well, and then she went on like Today, Washington, D.C., and was like, no, we're not best friends the next day. Like, oh my God. Because she got hate. Everyone was like, why are you standing up for this dumb bitch? And everyone was hating on her. So then she had to course correct. She's like, we're not really best friends. Like,
I
oh my
know.
God. So annoying. So that's over with. Thank God.
Oh,
Now we're watching The Challenge, which we watch
okay.
on MTV. I
Mhm.
mean, we've been watching it this whole time. There's not a lot of shows on though. So here we are. I need another
What
season of
is going on with Alex and Tim? Because she's like trying to clear some stuff. Like, because of course I joined the Love is Blind Netflix subreddit,
mm,
and now there's like a bunch of stuff just happening afterwards.
who cares?
But I know. I'm
She
like,
should not
y'all
have
are
wore that dress.
too invested in these people's lives that went on a reality TV show.
No, her dress was terrible.
Alex's?
Yes, I hated it.
You know whose boobies were, I don't know if they were
Oh my
terrible
God.
or what, but
You
I was like,
like,
whoa.
are those new? Marcos, are
Yeah,
those new?
yeah, those were, I was like, those look
Shiny.
uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Like serious. But anywho, so
Okay.
that's reality
Mm,
corner.
reality
Reality TV
conversation.
corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
This
talked
weekend
about
you had
that.
fun?
Yeah, I had a good time. It was a crazy party because everyone there is like super successful, but was like super outgoing and crazy and fun. It was a great time.
Good,
And Alenka was there, so I got to hang out with Alenka.
good. How did
And
they
that's
know
how
each
we
other?
business.
Ah,
So that's actually Cynthia's how I met Olenka.
okay.
Yeah. So it was a good time. But we thought we were gonna eat there and there was just like small plates. So we had a couple like we ordered poke nachos,
Uh-huh.
which there wasn't very many of them. So after they had like a party in their suite, which was huge, it was awesome at the Caesars Republic. And then Mark and I went over to Oceans 44, not Steak 44,
Okay.
and got dinner. And I overindulged on food and it was
Yeah.
delicious.
That's a good
And then
place
I
to
took half of
overindulge
it to
in.
go. I was
That's a
like, can I
good
take
place
it
to
to go?
indulge.
So now I'm on my leftovers era. So
Good. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. So
That's sweet.
speaking of that, I've definitely eaten enough to fuel my workouts today
Good for
because
you.
I had all leftovers. I had leftovers from yesterday's breakfast, which is
Mhm.
a like chorizo, soy chorizo hash brown mix. Then I
Mhm.
added chicken and 2 eggs. Oh, so good. I cannot
So
wait to eat
good.
that tomorrow. So filling.
I love a hash with eggs.
Oh, so delicious. And then I was so full from that I had 3 meatballs for lunch. And then I had some of the Brussels sprouts from my overindulging on Saturday for snack.
Good.
Yeah. Lots of protein today.
Yeah.
Up on the protein.
I like
But
that.
I'm ready and fueled for my workouts. But a lot of people, women particularly, are not.
What?
They tend to eat like birds and they wonder why they're not seeing the results that they want to see. I mean, if we had $1 for every time someone comes into our program and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm only eating 1,100 calories. I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's called metabolic adaptation.
Correct.
Welcome to your recovery center.
Well, and a term that you'll see, like Stacey Sims uses this term a lot. And then if you listen to, or if you're familiar with Steph Quadro, I can never say her last name. It's a Scottish last name. But she's kind of got the same message we do, and she's in the 40 plus category. It's called LEA or Red S. You'll see those 2 words interchangeably. And that's more, I would say, of like the clinical term that they use for research and whatnot. That Doc List Fitness, Alyssa something, she uses this term a lot too. She's big in the research world, but basically, excuse me, you get the hiccups and like when you're pregnant. FYI. So low energy. So LEA or Leah is low energy availability. It's basically the precursor to Red S. So I would say the LEA is kind of like your pink flag, and the Red S is actually like, hey, we've got
A red flag.
yeah, a red flag.
Get it.
So
What is red S?
Red S is relative energy deficiency in sport. And so when we say sport, like you have to remember, it doesn't have to be like a high athlete, like a college athlete level. If you are consistently strength training or doing a physical activity, that is a sport to you. And so because sometimes I'll see that too of like, yeah, but they're like an athlete. And I'm like, well, you're training like one mentally and physically,
Right.
whether you are or not, it doesn't really matter because you're still doing something that is creating this deficit of you're not eating enough for your workouts and you're seeing the trade-offs of that.
Mhm.
So the LEA is more of like psycho irregularities and you're starting to kind of wonder what's going on. But then the red S, when that perpetuates, is more of like GI, cardiovascular issues, compromised bone health, increased risk of injury, increased risk of illness, sports. And both of them are due to insufficient energy intake or insufficient nutrition intake.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So obviously, you talked about Dr. Stacy Sims and other physicians out there. This is such a real issue for women. And, that low energy availability is a precursor to, the injuries and such and physiological troubles you can see when not having enough energy or food in and working out too hard. And I think it's important to talk about like why women so much, because you don't see this in dudes.
Mm-mm.
Like they're like, give me all the food. I don't give a shit. Even guys who are competing, I mean, yes, they don't eat a ton, but they eat all of the time, right?
Mhm.
Men seem to get the concept of fueling for their workouts
Right.
more than women, right?
Right.
But then I think women associate what those men look like and how they're eating with, I'm going to look like them when you're
Yeah.
not the same hormonal profile. So one of the main things is diet culture has taught us that if you eat a lot of food, you're going to get fat, right?
Mhm.
And there's this fear of eating too much. And that idea of I need to, even work, having a pre-workout snack, a post-workout snack, that's too much. It's not going to fit into my day. When you've moved more in that day than maybe you did in another day, but they don't
Right.
think that. They're just very rigid in I need to eat less and eat less. They never realize what it feels like to be fed and train.
Right.
And so that very much can hinder progress, which makes them feel defeated, which makes them cut their calories even more.
Right.
Right. And so underfueling can lead to, as we've talked about, muscle loss, decreased energy, and it will slow down your metabolism over time.
Mhm.
And we're just talking about underfueling your workouts.
Right.
Right. So if we're going to start anywhere, we can start with, okay, am I fed for this activity?
Right. Well, and even when they do the activity, they're looking at like the calories burned on the activity too. And so the calories burned on the activity that I'm doing for the workout determines my calorie intake for the day. When
Right.
those machines are based off of something. And also they
Bullshit.
have like, well, and there's an incentive for them to tell you that there's more calories burned than you actually did, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
of marketing. So it's interesting how we decide, like you were saying, a pre-workout, post-workout snack is too much, right? And then I'm also going to combine that with what this tells me of how I need to eat. Because again, if I do all of that, then I won't get bulky because of
Right.
I see men do the opposite. And so I need to do the opposite of that.
Yeah. The funny thing is that like MyFitnessPal does that shit where it
Yes.
reduces your activity or increases your calories based on your activity. I can't tell you how many people are overweight because of that bullshit.
Right.
Because they're like, well, MyFitnessPal, deducts for
Way.
it adds back calories. And
Yeah.
like, we're going to talk about how we set calorie limits based on your activity here in a second. So
Yeah.
you guys can kind of understand that. But yeah, it's that I'm going to get bulky. I'm going to this. It's like, how do you know? How do you know that? Have you ever tried it?
Right.
And show me the bodies of an athlete or someone who works out that you like. And I would like to show you her calorie intake because it's probably a lot higher than you imagine. There are also women who eat foods, they eat carbs. The women that you see who are athletic and athletic bodies, who are strong, they're eating carbohydrates because that's our body's first source for fuel.
Right.
And being able to eat a proper amount of carbohydrates before a workout is going to make that workout feel 10 times better. Now, I say that as someone who wakes up very early and I do not eat before my workouts, but I fuel myself throughout my day, the night before
Mhm.
my workouts that I can pull from, right? I interrupt this episode to bring you the Mindset of Matter Black Friday specials that you will absolutely want to take advantage of. For the first time ever in my program, I'm offering $500 off of the one-to-one Mindset Method program. This is the program that Amanda and I talk about. Whenever we're talking about clients we've done one-to-one coaching with. This includes a weekly call with your coach, access to the Mindset Method curriculum, access to customizable exercise and nutrition coaching based on everything we talk about, and so much more. And for the first time ever, we are offering $500 off with a paid in full purchase. Number two, we now have a new group coaching program, the Mindset Method Movement. And for the first time, we are offering 1 month free with a 3-month commitment. So for 3 months, you get 4 months instead, or 3 months free with a 12-month commitment. So for the price of 12 months, you get 15 months instead. This includes access to the Mindset Method curriculum and access to 2 group coaching calls with me every single week so that you can process what you're learning. You also get access to the Mindset Method Movement community forum, and we will have the ability to add on customized nutrition and exercise coaching at a discounted rate. So check out the show notes below for the links to any of those programs. And just as a reminder, giving the gift of health and wellness is one of the greatest gifts you can give to someone. So if you think someone could benefit from these amazing programs, please take advantage of this throughout the month of November. Now, back to the show. But some people get sick if they're or feel sick if they don't eat or eat. So it's really personal preference, but try to do it throughout the day.
Well, I think the important part there is if you feel ill because you didn't work out or eat before you worked out, then you need to just eat before you work out instead of being like, oh, I'm just not going to save the calories for it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but even with that being said too, is that there might be times in your cycle, if you're tracking and you're not on birth control, or if you have a normal cycle that you can, I don't even want to say a normal cycle, a cycle that you're able to kind of predict and, fluctuate with, is that sometimes during that cycle, you're going to need more food.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's a personal preference. Sometimes like studies have shown that, towards like the period stage that you might need more carbs. And so that's something that can help you be aware of like, if I'm feeling more hungry before I go into this workout, where am I there? And that's actually a beneficial thing to feel your body for the workout. If your cycle is telling you, hey, we need a little bit more right now too. And then maybe like on the days where like you're ovulating, you don't need the like banana before or the toast.
Well, women be like, I'm so snacky. I'm so hungry. And for me, oftentimes, or in the past, I've been like, okay, well, just eat a little bit more.
Right.
And people are like, no, I want to stay in my deficit. I'm like, that half a banana is not going to take you out of your deficit.
Literally 50
Plus, right. And your basal metabolic rate is higher.
Right.
It's preparing to shed the lining of your uterus.
Right.
What do you think? That takes zero energy to do? Don't think so. That's why you feel so fucking tired.
Yep.
So by fueling and giving energy during that time, and we're just talking about the workouts, take that extra 50 calories and be aware, right? And on top of that, stop masking your need for energy with things like caffeine. I used to be a fucking pre-workout junkie, and then I realized it's junk.
I've never taken pre-workout.
Oh my God. Always pre-workout and caffeine, right? And what we have to realize about those caffeinated products is there's calories in them. There's probably a little bit of sugar if you use like a creamer, but it's not sustainable energy. So if we actually ate food before our workout and, eat a small amount of food, guys, we're not talking about a whole meal unless it's time for a meal and then you work out after that meal. But you will you'll have a totally different, I shouldn't say totally different. You're going to have a better experience in that workout if we're actually using like true whole foods versus through this like masking of energy through caffeine.
Right. Well, speaking of whole foods, they'll avoid protein. Right. Because protein somehow makes you bulky. Or actually, I think too, diet culture, right? Like the lack of knowledge that protein actually has a lot of beneficial properties. So they'll think,
or what protein is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They may be trying to get protein in, but they're just like, oh, I'm going to eat 2 eggs.
Almonds. So
No.
protein is essentially meat. Like, I'm in a blanket statement. It's meat.
Mhm.
Yes, eggs have protein. Yes, peanut butter has some protein. Yes, almonds have some protein, but
For dairy products too.
yeah. So,
Yogurt
but
has.
really just think of like your meats.
Mhm.
And so that's essential for one, building muscle, but also for recovery of the muscle.
Yeah.
So you need that in order to, if you're trying to get a lean mass and look toned and you're doing the workout and the workout programming is great, but we're missing the protein mark, that's going to show too. And so the eating comes with the training.
Well, I want you to think about this, gals and guys. Have you ever been in a relationship where you literally put all the work in and put all the work in, you did everything for that person and they just like ghosted you? Like, if you're not eating enough and you're doing all this workouts and you're doing the training, you're going to have that same kind of feeling of like, it's not, I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm doing the workouts. Look, I'm in this deficit. My body's not changing. You're just putting in an effort and not getting a result. And that sucks. It's really defeating where you can have that 500 calories of, or 550 calories of banana with some peanut butter or, whatever that looks like before your workout and begin to see, again, the fruits of your labor, as I mentioned in the intro. So don't ghost yourself.
So when you're not eating enough though, and we've talked about this,
what does it look like?
Fatigue before, during, and after a workout. And so I see this with like I would say my like type A clients more so, and even myself of like, yes, I'm tired, but I'm so dedicated to the process that I will get through it. Whereas some clients, they're more so of like, I'm so tired, I'm just not going to do it. But if you're tired going into the workout, then we need to either, like, usually we'd say back off the workout, but also what led up to that. And it was probably this under eating.
I went through an experience where I was eating 1,350 calories and working out 7 days a week.
Ugh.
And I remember the day of the weigh-in for this particular thing I was doing. They also had a workout that day. And the diet for that week was less than 30 carbs. And I sat there, they're like, oh, you're going to do the workout? It was like a competition workout at that.
You're like, of course.
No, I was like, I don't think I can. Like at that point, I was so depleted that I was like, I may fucking hurt and when I say hurt myself, like pass out. And then I had a Justin's peanut butter cup and did the workout.
Yeah. So you did do it.
I ended up doing it, but I had to have a peanut butter cup.
Yeah.
It was torture, you guys. I felt like I was just floating around and getting compliments because I, was so lean. But I didn't look good. I looked like ill. The funny thing is the lowest I ever got was 139. And I look ill in 139. Is that crazy?
Yeah. And I bet you weren't
like
getting stronger either.
Huh? Oh, no.
Yeah, you're just going through the motions.
Well, I was doing F45 7 days a week and then eating 1,350 calories. And twice on Saturdays. So I just felt terrible. And like you said, I wasn't recovering. That's when I ended up tearing my labrum and my hip because I wasn't providing my body with what it needed to support all of the movement I was doing. Plus, that particular part of my body had already been overworked from dance my entire life. And I was sore, I was tired, but at a certain point, my mental mindset took over of this is what we're doing.
Right.
We just do it. Just keep going, keep going. But then the injuries started coming. The, again, lack of strength, as you had mentioned, was there. And I would say I probably still have issues with my joints and my hip, definitely, from that time of my life because I put my body through such torture.
Yeah. Mine was, I would do 2-a-days for 2 days, and then weekends would probably be 2-3 hour workouts. So for me, it was I was injured, but how would I manipulate the workout to make sure that I still got it done? So I
Mhm.
wasn't like, for me, I probably wasn't progressing, but I didn't know I wasn't progressing because I would change so much of
Mhm.
the workout that it became a different thing each time to
Yeah.
accommodate for my pains, my injuries, like how, like my achy joints and kind of almost like it. I didn't have arthritis in my body, but like kind of that like creaky, like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I just never really felt fluid in my
Mhm.
body until,
Absolutely.
and then when I would work out, I'd be like, "Oh, that feels better." And I was like, "No, it doesn't feel better." Like, it's just
Yeah.
like my mind pushing through and like ignoring all of
Ugh,
these.
it's
And then
terrible.
the other thing too that I would do is like change my sleep. So if I woke up at like 4 in the morning, I'd be like, "Might as well, I'm already up." And
Yep.
so it was probably really a more of a flag that like I wasn't feeding myself enough for the workout
Yep.
as
Then
opposed
I
to
go
like,
work out.
yeah, and as opposed to being like, "Oh, I woke up early. I should probably rest."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would just go work out,
Yeah.
and then I was waking up because I was underfed, and then I decided, so stupid.
Yes.
So, it's so important to eat enough, guys. We obviously require energy to live,
Mhm.
right? And when I talk about this, I want to explain this to you. We have a basal metabolic rate, which is what our body needs at rest. Then we have two forms of movement that require energy. We have planned exercise and non-planned exercise, right? So your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and your EAT, exercise activity thermogenesis. Those two things, whether you're just moving and grooving, housework at the office, just that's your NEAT. And then obviously your planned workouts. And so we need enough to live. There is a baseline for that. That's your basal metabolic rate. Then we take into account your amount of energy. We call it the thermic effect of food that we use to break down food in our body. Yes, we
Right.
burn calories to break down food in our body. Then we take into account your movement, right? And so from BMR, then you have your thermic effect of food, your eat and your NEAT. You can see how we maybe started at 1,400 calories as our amount of food we need to survive. But now we add all these other factors in. Now we're at, 2,100, 2,300, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
So I think I hear a lot of people like they'll eat at their BMR and think that that's fueling their workouts.
Right.
And it's not. It's
Mm-mm.
like, no, that's for your brain, girl. It's a
Mhm.
brain food.
Well, your brain, I looked that up. It's 20% of your calories go to your brain.
Yeah,
Like
love
that's a
that.
lot.
I mean, listen, it's important.
Mhm.
Your brain is very important. The other thing too is, as we say all the time, that person that you want to look like, they look toned and
Right.
lean and fucking awesome because they have muscle. You can only
Right.
create muscle in I would say maintenance surplus.
I say maintenance plus. I like that.
Maintenance plus. There you
Yeah.
go. I
Maintenance
like that.
plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not only to build the muscle, but like feel for recovery of the muscle that you do have.
Right.
And so you like, because you already have muscle on you, right? And then we're building it, great. But we need to make sure we take care of what we've got. So, like, for example, you were not taking, well, both of us, we're not taking care of what we had, right?
No.
So we're like, we're chipping away at an iceberg thinking that the water is actually freezing beneath, and it's
Mm,
not.
hmm Yeah. No, I agree. And that part of recovery is actually the part where we need the most energy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So people
That's
think it's,
actually,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I was going to say that's actually a really great point because studies show that like if you have surgery or like or postpartum even, like you need to actually be in a surplus of
Hmm
calories to help your body build and recover because you got to think of all the energy that's going to that area or that section or whatever it is that's trying to recover itself. And if
Yep.
you don't have enough, it's going to deplete other areas.
Right. Your little busy ants are at work
Mhm.
building your muscle back up. And
Yeah.
again, that requires energy to do that.
Mhm.
So, and this ability to, again, properly fuel for the workout, for the recovery. So as we've already talked about, having a good amount of carbohydrates as energy is
Mhm.
important, but also so are fats. Fats can help with hormonal balance, but also just recovery in general. I always think of fats as the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, where they put the oil
Uh-huh.
in his joints, because fats reduce inflammation,
Mhm.
right? And so you're kind of that fluidity that you want are going to come from fats. And then, of course, protein's going to build that muscle. And having a balance of that is really important. So just for perspective, guys, I'm gonna show you this. So I am 41. I am around 150 pounds right now. And I want to explain how much energy I need for just being me. Okay. So my basal metabolic rate is roughly 1,432 calories. Now, this is a guesstimate. This is a good place to start, right? But over time, and what we'll talk about here in a second, you'll learn this where you're at in regards to your maintenance calories. So all of these numbers are just guesstimates. We'll teach you how to do it more precisely and based on your body. So that's my BMR, around 1,400 to 1,500 calories, 1,450. Okay. Then for my movement, there are activity multipliers based on the amount of movement you do. So sedentary is little to no exercise, less than 4,000 steps a day. That by itself is going to take me up to 1,718 calories. Okay. Lightly active. Okay. So that's your total daily energy expenditure, meaning if I just was sedentary, that's what my body would need to survive 1,718 calories. Lightly active is 1 to 3 exercises or sport per day, 4 to 6,000 steps. That brings my maintenance or my maintenance total daily energy expenditure to around between 1,900 and 2,000. Moderately active, 3 to 5 workouts per week, 6 to 8,000 steps per day, brings my TDEE around 2,200. Very active, 6 to 7 days a week of workouts, 8 to 10,000 steps. That brings it up to 24 to 2,500. Extra active, where I have a physically hard job. I'm training twice a day. I have all of the things that Amanda and I used to do, plus we're walking more than 10,000 steps. I'm at 27 to 2,800. Okay. So that is how much I would need to, if I was just balancing out energy in versus energy out.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how the more active you are, the more your body requires to make up for the energy loss through activity. And for if you, when you were doing 2-a-days, if I was like, hey, well, you've got to eat 3,000 calories a day in order to keep this up, you'd be like, I'm going to get fat,
I would have
right?
been like, yeah, okay. I remember, so I had this trainer, and he was not good, but when I met with him, I remember him, I was like, I just need a training program, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right. And he kind of touched on nutrition, and I told him about it. And he's like, you probably need about 2,500 calories a day. And I was like, fuck off. Just write the like training program, you know? And then I look back and I'm like, he probably was right, give or take. But the issue was he didn't explain it at all and just was kind of a douchebag about it.
No.
And so it's hard because we're trying to tell y'all like, hey, you probably need to eat more for what you're doing, especially our Fitbit girls who like value, because there's a spectrum, and this, not saying that one is better than the other, but there's clients and people who are listening who already have the workout consistency in place and self-discipline, not necessarily the best one for them, but they're already there. And then there's the gal who is so lost on what even to do that she's telling herself like, I don't even go to the gym because it's so overwhelming.
Right.
But our message conveys the both, because you're still doing activity. So maybe the gal who doesn't go to the gym, she enjoys going for the walk or playing pickleball on Sundays with her friends. That's still an activity that we have to accommodate for, are you getting enough energy and nutrition for that?
Yes, that's a good point.
Yes.
I think people think, oh, I didn't go to the gym, I don't need the food. It's like,
right.
I was watching a gal that I follow. Her name is Ryan Nicole or something like that. She's a therapist too, and talks about like her own binge eating. And she said, like, it was a reel about like, oh, I didn't work out today, I shouldn't eat. She goes, also today. And it's her like blowing the leaves, picking up her kid, taking the grocery, doing all of the things. And I think that's a great point. because women will be like, well, I didn't get my workout in, so I can't eat too much today. It's like, well, what did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just sat on your ass all day, then that's different. But and even then, if it's one day, it's not going to make it's actually not different. If you're so those activity levels we talked about, like if you change that activity in a pattern over time, then we need to adjust our intake. So say you go from moderately active to sedentary because you have an injury, and that injury recovery is going to be 2-3 months, then we're probably going to change the intake, right? But I just think that's important, a really important point that you had there.
Well, let's also talk about, so then how do we do this and increase our calories?
Yes. Ladies, I know the holiday season can be so overwhelming, from the gift giving to the baked goods to the parties to the family. It's chaos. And I'm guessing you usually put yourself on the back burner thinking in your head, I'll just start over again in January. But how many times have you done this to yourself? Maybe this year we try something different. November 24th starts the Mindset Matter Winter Wellness Challenge. This challenge helps you manage the season by matching your movement and habits based on your stress levels, introducing small, simple habits and movement goals that will help you prioritize yourself through the holidays. This is how it works. You ask yourself, how crazy is today going to be? Super crazy, high stress, we do some gentle movement and easy habits. If it's an easy day, low stress, we go for it. Plus, we add easy habits like drinking water, getting enough sleep, stress management, and nutritional habits that build on each other week over week. These small steps aren't just for the holidays. What you're doing is creating a foundation of prioritizing yourself no matter what is going on in your life. Taking this foundation into 2025, making it your best year ever. So if you are ready to not walk into January 1st completely burnt out, comment challenge below for more information. So what I was touching on in regards to the maintenance and the calculator that I talked about is we always talk about the reverse diet. And for some people, they'll just see that number, say, oh, well, my maintenance is 2417. And we don't do that. We might get to 2417 and, slowly increase calories from there. But let's talk about the reverse diet first and foremost.
So go ahead.
No, you go.
So this is someone, most of the time, the people who reverse diet is going to be easiest with tracking calories if you do that. So I would say start tracking calories, just rough estimates, grams and ounces. So weighing food is much better than cups and measurements. But again, if you're consistently doing it with the cups and measurements, do that, right? Because we just need to see where we're at. And then over time, what we're going to do is say we find out that we're only eating 1,400 a day on average, because I'm going to have you're going to track that for at least 5 days, bare minimum, but that's going to include a weekend. So there's your catch. And you need to include your butters and your oils and all of that. We're going to make this super simple, but there's a little bit more to it. Anyway, so find out you're about 1,400 calories. Okay, so we can say we need to add about 100 calories, or every 5 days or every 3 to 5 days, we'll do 50 calories. This is where it depends on your mindset that we talked about. Because some clients, I'm like, if you're at 14, let's just jump to 17 and see what happens. But for our gals, they're going to think like 300 calories, like, holy cow, that's a lot. And so mentally, sometimes getting over that hurdle is really challenging. That's why I like to break it up a little bit more. But we're going to gradually increase calories over time until we start to see like, oh, I am feeling better. Oh, I am sleeping better. Oh, my training is going better. I am recovering better. Like, everything should be getting better. My clothes are fitting better. And so you're going to look at your training block and see how is that accommodating? Because again, if we're still overtraining, you're solving one problem, but the other problem's still there.
Right.
And so over time, we just want to see like how many calories can we eat and still maintain and get a good outcome.
Yep. No, agreed. And doing that slowly over time is going to be a little less scary. And tracking food, like you said, is definitely helpful in that. There's a misconception that, oh, I have all of this food now, where, the gal who says 300 calories is a lot, right? I'm like, actually, it's not. It's a frappuccino from Starbucks.
Right. That you're already drinking.
Don't have that. Yeah. Or add it, right?
Mhm.
Don't just add that. You should be adding proteins, fats, and carbs, whole foods. Then the other way you can do this to ensure that you're fueled for your workout is take that increase, that 100 calories, and
Mhm.
eat it before your workout.
Yeah.
Get a rice cake with some peanut butter. Boom,
Mhm.
100 calories.
I like a
Or
banana before my workout if I'm hungry
love banana.
because it's
I
quick,
love
easy. You don't have to prepare it.
Yes.
If you drive, you
So,
can eat it in the car.
right. You're killing two birds with one stone. You're filling yourself for this workout. Plus, you're getting to a place where, on average, you're filling yourself properly overall based on the amount of activity that you have.
Right.
It's just going to feel better. Like if you're kicking ass in the gym, you're going to get stronger. You're
Mhm.
going to have more energy to do you're just going to have more energy. You guys realize your body will slow itself down. Whereas like you guys will watch me and I literally do this all the time. Like I'm constantly messing with this pen. You
Mhm.
know why? Because my body is properly fueled and it wants to use energy while I'm sitting in this chair. And
Yeah.
it does this. That is a real fucking thing. You're moving side to side.
Yes. My and I can't, the ball was hurting my back. But when I sit on the ball, I'm usually doing my little hip circles and rocking and whatnot. But it's
Right.
literally like, yes, I'm doing it partially for pregnancy, but also because it's like, just need to move. Like there is something like I've got the energy and it needs to get out of me.
Trying to get out. Right.
Mhm.
If you're not a tracker, we can do things like focusing on your fullness levels.
Uh-huh.
The way I like to do this for somebody who is trying to eat enough is eating too little would give you the ability to do 10 jumping jacks after a meal. Whereas eating enough is I can't do the jumping jacks, but I can get up and walk. Eating too much would be I have to sit here for a little bit because I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
So listening to those fullness cues of, okay, I'm at jumping jacks. I'll take 1 to 2 more bites and reassess. Because
Mhm.
remember, the jumping jacks to non-jumping jacks to not being able to get up is roughly 3 to 5 bites.
Right.
5 bites might even be too much. So using your fullness cues, what other methods do you like to use with clients?
Plates. So like looking at what actually their plate portions are.
Mhm.
So I like, and this I need a picture, obviously, instead of them telling it.
Mhm.
But if I'm looking at the plate portion and the portions are pretty small, I'm going to say, like, can we add like 2 to 3 bites of protein or maybe
Mhm.
like an extra scoop of vegetables or half a scoop? And I want to emphasize we don't ask clients to add like, okay, well, I see your plate, like let's add a third chicken breast or something like that. It's more of these little incremental changes
Yep.
because chicken breast is maybe, let's say, like 125-ish calories, but if I can add 3 to 5 more bites, now I'm maybe at 140 to 50-ish calories. Okay, well, those 30 extra calories per day is a fraction of that 50 I'm trying to get you to eat more per
Right.
day. Right. So
Yep.
we're trying to break it down where it's not so overwhelming for the client, but where
Mhm.
it's actually achievable too. So
Yeah.
I like the plate method a lot. In that sense, and then even just modifying. So, like, for example, instead of always having vegetables or like cauliflower rice, maybe we switch half cauliflower rice to half white rice, right?
Mhm.
For my paleos. Um, and even thinking of, okay, so sometimes there's that fear of like seeing more food, then let's add these hidden calories. So
Yeah.
instead of cooking with no oil or butter or anything, why don't we add some oil or butter? If you're having a hard time like conceptualizing like having more food, then maybe we add a scoop of protein powder like in a coffee or in like a smoothie that we have every day for breakfast.
Mhm.
And so that way I'm still getting it, but I'm not mentally really seeing it. But again, how am I talking to myself about that during the time? Like if I'm like, oh my God, I added 150 calories, like it it's more so of trusting the process and just believing it because going less calories isn't working for you.
Right. No, agreed. And we talk about really trying to create change that's not too overstimulating for the system, right? So all the things you're talking about, the smaller, 3 to 5 more bites or adding some olive oil or a shot of protein powder
Mhm.
is much easier on on the brain, right? Where it's like, okay, this isn't that stressful. I made it very stressful because I made up this whole story about what this looks like, but 3 to 5 extra bites of chicken and a tablespoon of olive oil is very doable.
Right.
And it kind of brings it back into perspective how much this increase really is or isn't, while yes, necessary for the body, it's still only, roughly 500 calories, depending on where you were.
Mhm.
Could be more. We've definitely seen more for other clients. So the other thing though, too, is, pre-workout, we want to be focusing on, 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates and then 5 to 10 grams of protein if we're doing our strength training. We, for me, I don't do a lot of, I'll do peanut butter actually. But the recommendation is, minimal, slow digesting foods. We want that
Mhm.
quick energy pre-workout. And then post-workout, 25 to 40 grams of carbohydrates, 15 to 25 grams of protein, and 5 to 10 grams of fats post-workout. Now, these aren't, if you don't do like,
I
if
was gonna
I'm
say,
not,
I don't do this.
I don't do it, but I know people are going to ask,
Yeah.
what's the recommendation? That's literally what I put in the notes is that recommendation. I don't do this because I eat enough throughout the day.
Right.
I work out, I walk, I come home, I eat a pretty big breakfast. So I have my lunch, my snack, my dinner, my snack. So then the next morning when I wake up,
Mhm.
I still have,
I still
enough
got it.
energy in the system.
Yeah.
So good. Good, good, good. So
Studies.
studies, nerd corner, go.
Nerd alert. Okay, so we're looking at sex differences and considerations for female specific nutritional strategies. So a primary nutrition consideration for women should be achieving adequate caloric intake, particularly with increased levels of physical activity. So going back to what you said, as our physical level activity, what was it, time thingy
TV.
increases. Yeah, needs to. Well, I was thinking of like multiplier. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Activity multiplier.
Increases,
Yeah.
then our calorie increase needs to increase as well in order to support cellular function, improve performance demands. Previous data evaluating dietary intake and eating habits of female athletes reported that majority of athletes underconsumed calories, in particular carbs. And so this goes back to that spectrum that I had talked about, the gal who maybe is a college athlete or even is like a marathon runner in her 40s, or to the gal who doesn't go to the gym because she doesn't even know where to start, but is considering just starting for a walk. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of that is an athlete in one way or another. And
Right.
we tend to be under eating no matter the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And so failure to reach sufficient metabolic and caloric demand, so failure to reach as much calories as we need, may elicit disruptions. So may cause disruptions in menstruation, so your hormonal cycle, performance, bone mass, and then potentially increasing the risk of injury and osteoporosis, which both of us are testaments to.
Yep.
And so and then lack of proper nutrition may lead to that red S that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see that like so there's Leah, red S, and then the female triad system. And then
Mm-hmm.
another study, relative energy deficiency in sport, red S, scientific, clinical, and practical implications for the female athlete. Developing Leah and red S compromises training adaptation, performance capacity, and health in athletes. So if we're going to the gym, like you're saying, 2 times a week or whatever, or 2 times a day or 3 days a week, whatever it is, whether it's overtraining, undertraining, or no training, good training, appropriate training, you are robbing yourself of potential benefit by not eating enough.
You're ghosting yourself.
You're ghosting yourself. You are.
Yeah. So, I mean, research shows we are a testament to it. Give it a try, guys. Give it a try. You know how to lose the weight if you gain all this weight you think you're going to gain, which you're not. But see how you feel. Because I'm going to bust your bubble that feeling good in your body and having energy to do life is much better than looking a certain way.
Yep.
Plus, you're going to put all of this foundation in place of eating enough, fueling properly, recovering properly, lifting heavier, ... And just with that, you're going to look great. So why take the harder route?
Mm-hmm.
So love it, love it. If you're looking for support on this, our coaches are certified personal trainers, certified nutrition coaches, and experts in both psychology and biology to help support whatever your goals are. Check out the Clarity Call link below. Also, check us out on Instagram at Mindset of Matter Coaching and fitbyamanda.az. You can find the recordings of this on YouTube if you want to see our lovely faces. Yay! I've been poking at my eye this whole time because my contact's really dry, so you can watch that. Sure. I swear to God, I can't find a contact that is comfortable, but it's also because I'm legally blind to one eye.
Yeah.
Other than that, don't forget about our Black Friday specials, $500 off one-to-one coaching, 1 month free with a 3-month purchase of our Mindset Method Movement, which is our group coaching program, or 3 months free with the purchase of a year of the Mindset Method Movement. You will find those links in the show notes below. And at the end of the day, we want you to eat enough so you can think enough so that you can remember this.
What you say in the mind.
You see in the mirror.
That's good.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good one.